Welcome to The Way I See It. In this 6-part series where I feature General Surgeon Dr. Titus Odedun, I look at his troubles with the General Medical Council. As a surgeon who was trained, qualified, accredited, registered and working within the NHS for over 30 years, he found himself struck off the medical register and his reputation in tatters. My first question was to ask him what exactly happened with the General Medical Council.
The GMC case is a classic case of what difficulties ethnic minority experience in the UK. I trained as a medical doctor in the UK. I started out in Malta, and after the political troubles in Malta, moved through Cambridge and then St Bartholomew's Hospital in London, where I eventually qualified. So all my qualifications were in the UK. I was registered with the General Medical Council as soon as I qualified through my internship, and after my successful internship was fully registered with the General Medical Council. Then began my postgraduate training in surgery, and after I got my surgical qualifications, the same General Medical Council registered my fellowship qualifications, and then went through normal training, went abroad briefly for 3 years as a consultant and came back. Throughout the time I was abroad, I was still registered with the General Medical Council. Every year I got a registration, so I had no problem with registration with the Medical Council until when I became an NHS consultant and started practicing both in the NHS and in private practice, and also doing locums at various levels, up to and including consultant level, in various fields that I trained in. Then all of a sudden, because my work involved doing insurance work with victims of road traffic accidents, and if I treat them or another hospital treat them, I have to prepare a medical report stating their injuries. And these victims win awards from insurance companies of the guilty party. One of the insurance companies, called Aviva, got a solicitor in Manchester who decided I was costing them too much money in payout because they were losing all these cases. And they initially went to court to try and belittle me, and the judge will have none of it, and then finally went to the General Medical Council and said my qualifications were faked. So, surprise, surprise, I received a letter from the Medical Council that we had a report that your qualifications are faked and we want to investigate you. That was the beginning. The Medical Council then called a committee, and needless to say, I produced my certificates and got a lawyer who showed all my qualifications, and the committee said, this is rubbish. You can go and continue practicing. These allegations are false. And I thought, fine, that's the end of it. And I continued practicing until a year later I received a letter from the Medical Council saying, we're still investigating this case. So you have to go through another committee. We accept that your qualifications are not fake. The solicitors, the people who reported you have removed that from the allegation. But they are now alleging that the quality of reports was substandard, you prepared was substandard, and that you exaggerated some of your qualifications. So I had to go through. Normally this is unnecessary, but then I have to go through another panel which looked at these allegations and said, this is really witch hunt. This is not on. This man has done nothing wrong. And they dismissed it. The second panel dismissed these allegations. And I continued to practice. And I thought that was it. And then in the meantime, I became ill and had to be seen in private hospitals in London, in St John's Wood, in Wellington Hospital, because I was bleeding. And so I went privately and I received treatment, but I continued to bleed. So I needed a major operation to remove all my large bowel, to put it in straightforward language. And I had to be in intensive care for a week, and in hospital, a major hospital like the University College Hospital in London for a month. And while all this was going on, the General Medical Council held a meeting, decided to hold another tribunal on these cases that have been dismissed twice by a committee. And I said, I'm not able to attend this because I'm recovering. But nonetheless, they went ahead and they said they found me guilty, which is on what basis? They said my experience was exaggerated, that I was practicing in various fields in which I was not in the specialist register, forgetting that when I became a consultant, the specialist register did not exist. And so long as you're qualified, you practice as a general surgeon. Not only that, this same General Medical Council registered me every year for over 30 years, so that everything was fine. Were they asleep all these years? Just because a solicitor complained, how can you, General Medical, your primary duty is to inspect the qualification of a doctor, that you're fine, and you registered me and gave me a certificate every year that you're fine. You even listed me in the specialist register for everybody to see that I have these qualifications. And now, the same General Medical Council, because of a complaint from a solicitor, an insurance company, who stands to make money, they even boasted on their website that they want to stop me. I'm costing them a lot of money. Because of that, you suddenly make this decision. Have you been asleep all these 30 years that you registered me? And when I qualified, the specialist register that you say now did not exist, because now Dr. A is a surgeon of the left breast and Dr. B is a surgeon of the right breast. And it's a specialist register, and it's only registered to touch the right breast, not the left breast. That did not exist when I became a consultant. I know many consultants like me who didn't have to go through that, who are now happily consultants. So what's so different with me? That you have this witch hunt about me. Even when I was ill, I wasn't there to defend myself. And you won't allow the case to be reopened now that I can get lawyers. They said, oh, it's after 14 days, you cannot appeal against this decision. So that is the situation with the Medical Council. I think it's a witch hunt. It's completely wrong. And, anybody who's got an ounce of common sense, we see what they've done. Okay. There are two other important aspects that shows that this is a witch hunt by the insurance company and the solicitors in Manchester. After my certificates were produced in their original form, and they had to withdraw the allegation that my qualifications were fake, they then came up with the allegation that two of my qualifications were not acceptable because I did not pay my annual dues to the college. One is the College of Emergency Medicine, the other one was the International College of Surgeons in Chicago. That because I did not pay my annual dues, I was therefore not entitled to use those titles. As it happened, I pay my dues to every college by direct debit, including these two. And I went to Santander and got proof that my direct debit was live to all the colleges. And it was these two colleges that did not collect the money. And those cases had to be dropped. That it was a lie. That I had every right to use those qualifications. The second one is even more interesting. Prior to the GMC case, these solicitors have tried in a court of law, when I was defending a patient I examined, for them to pay damages. They claimed that I gave false testimony in court before the trial judge. However, that case they lost. The judge agreed that I did not give any false testimony, because that is a very serious case. That's perjury. We have MPs in Britain and the chairman of a major party going to jail for perjury. So it's a very serious case. Having lost that, they still had the audacity to accuse me before the GMC that I gave false testimony. And the GMC agreed with them, a case that they had lost in a court of law. So it's obvious that this is actually a witch hunt, and it's just not right. Yes, I certainly feel stitched up, because that's what one of the people I know says, Titus, I hear you've been stitched up. It's a stitch up because there is nothing that I have done. The specialist register was not there when I became a consultant. I was appointed in a specialty in which I was not even accredited in that particular specialty, because at that time you don't need accreditation. It did not exist, the general medical, the register. So I feel hard done by, to put it very mildly, especially at a time when I was ill and I was not there to get a lawyer to defend myself. I feel hard done by. I haven't had a fair hearing at all. They got a doctor who was paid by the insurance company to witness that to practice in any field, you have to be in the specialist register. When that was not the case when I was appointed, the specialist register was made after I became a consultant. So I did not have a fair hearing, definitely not. When I had the outcome, I was very depressed that how in a developed country can this be allowed to happen? Can they conduct a witch hunt against somebody and get away with it and not allow him to appeal against that decision? And say it's an act of parliament that after 14 days, even if you kill somebody in the UK, you can, even years later, they reopen the case and you get freed and your name is cleared. How much more of a technicality, a wrong technicality for that matter, and you won't allow the case to be reopened? I've gone to so many lawyers trying to reopen the case or set the case aside, have a proper hearing with a jury if necessary, and present the evidence to the jury, and they won't even allow it. I think they should have waited until I fully recovered from my surgery. Everybody knew I had surgery. I have the scars to prove it, and I have the hospital to provide the records. They should have waited and then call a hearing with me and a solicitor and all the papers to show what I've just been saying. It's all there on paper. There are many consultants like me at the time I was appointed who did not have a completion of specialist training. It did not exist at that time. And I can name hundreds across the country, and they can investigate it and find it's true. If they did that, they had no leg to stand on. I have practiced in the NHS for over 30 years. Have been registered, sent patients. I've never had any complaint from any of the patients. My patients are happy, and my consultant colleagues are happy. I even had a consultant colleague who wrote that this is incorrect. So I have been practicing successfully as a consultant in the NHS for over 20, 25 years, and as a doctor for over 30 years. I've not botched any operation. I don't have any complaint from any patient to the medical council that, look what Titus has done. We have people who commit grave sins. I've seen doctors in the UK who actually slept with their patients. And yet the medical council did not even suspend them because they have the right face and the right color and the right accent and the right public school. And they just said, oh, he showed remorse that what he did is wrong, and did not even punish them. How can that be right? How can that be right? Anybody who knew me since I became a doctor knew how hard I work. I was one of those doctors who is still working at 10 p.m. at night. Not only me, the rest of my team, my secretary is always working away. That throughout my entire career, I did not keep a waiting list, both in NHS and in private life. I did not keep a waiting list. Patients come to see me, I see them there and then. The GPs who refer patients to me were happy that even my NHS GP could ring me, even for NHS, forget about private, and say, Titus, we don't know what's going on with this patient. We will send the patient to the hospital and we will sort it out. So I never kept a waiting list. And my patients were happy. Patients send me cards and commendations from patients all throughout my career. Ideally, I would like the court to say something is wrong, something is not right here. Let us have a fair hearing. Let us open this case. Let the solicitors, James, everybody come with their case. Let me, as an individual, with help from lawyers, produce all my papers, and let's have a jury of ordinary British people to look at this case and see who is the one that is telling fibs. That's what I like done, just to have a jury of ordinary common people in England. As I've been a member of a jury before, and you look at this case unbiased, in an unbiased way, and see who is right. That's what I would like done. I feel the coverage was wrong. The media did not make any effort whatsoever to see the other side of the story. They only saw it from one side and believed that was gospel. I was tried by the media, and everything. They only reported what they were told. They never reported anything from mine. They never even asked me my own side of the story. This is the first time anybody has taken pains to ask me the other side of my story. The media have only reported what they were told. And so I have never had a fair reporting from the media. The media just reported what the solicitors wanted them to report. Even when the solicitors published openly that they finally got this doctor, we have been after this doctor, we finally got him. Even when they did that, it was obvious there was malice. The media did not do anything about it.
Thanks for watching. This story just raises lots of questions for me. For example, what does contribution mean if it can be wiped away in an instant? Whose story do we believe? Which side do we listen to? Do we take the time to find out the other side of the story? And that is why storytelling is so important, especially alternative stories, especially for voices that would not normally be heard or have a chance to defend themselves. See you next time on The Way I See It.